All right, folks, so we've got an update on the aftermath of the death of the late Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein, who passed last Friday at the age of 90. California Governor Gavin Newsom has announced the person who will take Feinstein's place in the Senate, at least until the special election next year. And Senate Republicans claim that they won't interfere with Democrats' ability and right to replace Feinstein on the Judiciary Committee, which would allow President Biden's slate of judicial nominees to progress as intended. But before we unpack all that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. Maybe check out my Patreon. I'd appreciate the support. All right, folks, so yeah, this is big news in more ways than one. So I want to first draw your attention to what Senate Republicans are saying in the aftermath of Senator Feinstein's death. Now, we did a video last week in which I said one of the major concerns was that the bad faith Republican Party would continue to act in bad faith because Senator Feinstein, before she passed away, had been suffering medical and cognitive issues for months, at the beginning of the year in particular, that actually took her out of the Senate. She had to stay home and recover. And given the close disparity or the close margin between Democrats and Republicans in the Senate, what that did was it drew President Biden's judicial nominees to a halt. It made it very difficult for the president's judicial nominees to be confirmed because, of course, Republicans were blocking it every step in the way, and that one vote from Senator Feinstein was able to shift the balance. And when Democrats attempted to replace her even temporarily on the committee while she was basically out sick, Republicans refused. They said that they would not allow Feinstein to be replaced. And of course, it was a bad faith ploy that put the Democrats in a rock and a hard place. So then the question became, okay, well, if they wouldn't do that at her age, when she was incredibly sick, would they do that in, the event of her death? And it's a good question because some people were saying, listen, the Republican Party, they're not that bad, Josiah. I mean, come on. I'm a cynic by nature, and I don't think that the Republican Party, generally speaking, has a limiting principle, and I'm not obligated to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I don't think you should either. But having said all of that, apparently many top Republicans are saying, we'll see it, when the rubber meets the road, but they're saying that they won't interfere with Democrats' ability to replace Feinstein on the Judiciary Committee, which would allow President Biden to continue appointing and confirming judicial nominees at a rapid rate. John Cornyn of Texas, a senior Republican on the Judiciary Committee, told NBC News that there's no doubt in my mind Democrats will be able to fill her spot on the panel once there's a successor appointed to her Senate seat. Let's see, it's a prerogative of the Democratic leader to put who he wants on the Judiciary Committee, so I don't think that's an issue, Cornyn said, arguing that it was different when Republicans blocked a temporary swap on the panel this year when Feinstein was absent. Okay, the problem was he was willing to try to do that while Senator Feinstein was a member of that committee, even though she wasn't present, Cornyn said, so that's an unorthodox procedure. Now, to me, that's a distinction without a difference. She wasn't available, not because she was out partying or she was derelict in her duties, but because she had shingles at her age. She was 90 years old with shingles, and so it was a very cruel and despicable act of bad faith. But he says, listen, now that she's passed away, it's different. So we'll see what happens, but that is, if we can take their words at face value, which obviously we should take them with a grain of salt, that is good news. Now, the other piece of interesting news, and I would say it's good news based on what I understand, is Governor Gavin Newsom, the Democratic governor of California, the governor of the state that Senator Feinstein served as senator, has already named the person who will take her place, at the very least until the special election next November in 2024. In a statement, he says, I'm proud to announce California's new United States Senator, Laphonza Butler, who is, by the way, the head of Emily's List, which is a political action committee that concerns itself with women's reproductive rights and abortion issues, right? So to the right, this is going to be a very controversial choice. But she's also a fundraising powerhouse. She's a lesbian, so she would be the first openly LGBTQ senator of California. He fulfilled his promise that he would appoint a woman of color to the position. And he also said that he wasn't going to, pick someone in the event of Feinstein's death who is running for California Senate in 2024. Somebody like Katie Porter and others. I think Adam Schiff is running as well. And I'm blanking on the third one. I'll check it out in a minute. But there are three very prominent Democrats who are running to replace Feinstein in 2024. And Governor Newsom said, listen, if I appoint one of them, it would be unfair because they would be the incumbent in an otherwise, blank slate race. So in terms of the statement, he says, as we mourn the enormous loss of Senator Feinstein, the very freedom she fought for, reproductive freedom, equal protection, and safety from gun violence, have never been under greater assault. Laphonza has spent her entire career fighting for women and girls and has been a fierce advocate for working people. She'll make history, becoming the first black lesbian to openly serve in the U.S. Senate. From her time as president of Emily's List to leading the state's largest labor union, she's always stood up for what is right. And has led with her heart and her values. Okay, I want to play this video here, and we will unpack it together. Introducing Laphonza Butler, California's next senator. She led the nation's largest organization for women in politics and fights for better representation every day.
Time and again, we have been told what choices we can and cannot make. We have come together across race and across place to respond to questions about our rights with clarity and resolve.
Butler began her career as a union organizer for nurses, janitors, and eventually in-home caregivers, and led the fight for $15 minimum wage in California as the president of the state's largest labor union. She was raised in the South by her mother, a caregiver, and will be the first black lesbian to openly serve Congress in American history.
We have to walk that road together, California. We have to walk that road arm in arm.
And as we mourn the loss of Senator Feinstein, Butler will continue the work of her predecessor, breaking barriers and glass ceilings and ensuring Californians have a fighter in D.C. In California, all dreams are possible. Pretty good video. I have to say, the only controversy of which I'm aware with Laphonza Butler is apparently she served as like a legal advisor to Uber, and served as a legal advisor, I believe, in the case in which Uber was when they were in a dispute against their workers. So there are some people, some element of the progressive movement who are pro-labor, pro-union, who believe that despite her history as leading California's largest labor union, that her reputation and her advocacy for pro-union work is pockmarked by the fact that she was, working with Uber at a time that they were in a dispute against their workforce. So yeah, this is interesting stuff. It's good stuff based on what I understand. Again, she's young. She has a background then pro-labor, pro-women's reproductive rights, just pro-rights for women, period. And she's a fundraising powerhouse. She's extremely effective. So this signals that, Governor Newsom's priority for somebody in the Senate will be somebody who can raise a lot of money and help the Democrats win every election possible in 2024. So I'm sure there'll be more to say on this as the news unfolds. And again, there's going to be a special election in November 2024 for the person who will serve the remainder of Feinstein's term, which I think is in January 2025, so like another 2 months after the fact, and then another special election for the person who will serve from 2024 for a 6-year term till 2030. So I'm sure there'll be updates along the way, but let me know your thoughts in the comments section.